You know what you need when you're trying to find your way through the NBA season and it's gotten off to a rough start? You need the Utah Jazz. That's what you need. Denver rolls. Jokic dominates. The bench has a pretty good night. Denver's getting better. And that's something to talk about here on Locked On Nuggets. I'm on the wrong thing.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your weekend. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Sunday morning. If you're listening on the podcast, Saturday night, actually Sunday mornings too. The chat's bumping, which is just amazing that it's 1 o'clock in the morning here after the Nuggets beat the Jazz, and the chat's bumping at youtube.com/Locked On Nuggets. Big Honey's in here. Don't Tell Santa Cruz. Michael Talley's in here. Alejandro's hanging out with us. So many folks hanging out with us. We appreciate you guys being part of our community and listening to us. Shout out to Cody, who came up and said hi today. Loved
absolutely.
Love meeting Cody at the game. Came down and said hi to me and Ryan. And it was really funny because he was like, I have a hat with all the podcasters. Sorry, I didn't bring it, but I have all the DMVR guys. And he was like, I love Pickaxe and Roll. And he was like, also glad to hear you on Locked On Nuggets. And I was like, okay, all right, I see how it is. It's fine, Cody. It's fine. I was glad to meet you. Glad to have you guys with us here on a Sunday after the Nuggets get a big win. Not big win. Get a comfortable win versus the Utah Jazz. On today's show, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the fact that Ryan and I are feeling like the Nuggets are heading in the right direction, which is a far cry from where they were about 5 days ago. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Want to let you know that you can subscribe to the Locked On Nuggets daily newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. There, Monday through Friday, you're going to get thoughts from me and Ryan. Sometimes it'll be, hey, here's the best stuff from the podcast. Sometimes it'll be post-game stuff. Like on Monday, I'll have a newsletter for you covering everything that happened in the Raptors game. All sorts of great stuff. You'll have insider quotes, all sorts of cool stuff. Check it out at LockedOnDaily.com. My name's Matt Moore. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn. He's from Mile High Sports. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's go. All right, Ryan. So Jokic absolutely just like destroyed the Jazz in this one, which is funny because in the first half he was having like kind of a quiet night. And you and I are like, man, like Walker Kessler and Filipowski are doing okay on Joker. Yeah, and then he wound up with 27 points on 10 of 18 shooting. He hit 3 threes, all of his free throws, 16 boards, 9 assists, a steal, did have 5 turnovers. How about a plus 31 in ye old box plus minus? Not bad. Not bad night's work for Joker. What was your big takeaway from the Nuggets runaway victory over the Utah Jazz?
Yeah, I mean, we could go through the game flow on this one. We could talk about Joker. I thought that the way that, weird. You really had to put that up on the screen, didn't you? The first comment you put up on the screen is everything might be better without Jamal. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Who could have thought of this take before? If you guys don't know this, but Matt sits 2 seats down for me at the games. And the entire time, he's just like, you know what? I think they might be better without Jamal. You know who would be better? Like anybody else.
It's not true. All right, before we get in trouble, because we know that the certain members of the team do listen to this podcast. Yeah. What I do is every time Jamal misses a shot, I will look at him. I will glance sideways at him if he turns the ball over. And then if Jamal scores, I like look straight ahead, don't say anything. I do not ever insinuate the team is better without Jamal Murray. That's not a thing. We will talk about the pace later, but go ahead. What was your big takeaway from this game?
So it was great to see them get started with the bench. Our starters look really good, and then the bench came in, and the bench looked horrible. Despite the fact that they made a change, it looked it's funny. Despite the fact that they made a change at backup center, Dario Saric out, DeAndre Jordan in. Michael Malone said it was just a matchup thing. We kind of discussed after that it's kind of likely that he was going to say that, but the team needed a little bit of a jolt of energy, so they turned to DeAndre Jordan, which I thought was fascinating. Didn't work initially, But the starters came back in, set the tone again, and then Joker in the third quarter. That's the one that I really want to hit on. 18 points, and he rounded off that game with 3 straight threes towards the middle to end of the third quarter. And just being able to have that kind of run is not something that Joker used to do. It's not. Like, he's shooting 60% from 3 so far this season, and they're good shots, but they're also contested shots sometimes. He's a lot more aggressive with it, been doing a lot of good things with that 3-point shot, and he seems like he and Aaron Gordon are taking it upon themselves to be better 3-point threats, which I think is really interesting for a team that has needed the shots.
Yeah, Aaron's shooting great from 3, which is awesome. Yeah. MPJ's got it going now, and so we can just put that entire early game stretch behind us. He had a quote post game where he talked about that he was like, if it was the middle of January, nobody would have cared, so I wasn't really worried. And he's like, thank you, Michael Porter Jr. Thank you. Because that's the thing. It's just like when somebody starts off the season badly, because that's all the information you have, you're just like, this is how it's going to be. And it's just like, you have to imagine. The example I will continuously use in the negative is we literally were talking about Reggie Jackson for 6th man of the year in November. And then by January, it was Reggie Jackson can't play. Why is Reggie Jackson on the floor? So it's like, there's going to be downs, there's going to be ebbs and flows, there will be changes. You do have to take the career numbers for these guys and then consider them. And Michael Porter Jr. was always going to be fine. It's really good to see how he played tonight. 7 of 12. He was aggressive. I've loved his rebounding this year. He had 5 boards tonight, which isn't a lot for him, but he's just like, he's been more consistent rebounding, which I think is really important, that he's not like MPJ has fewer nights where he has like 2 rebounds. Like, he's always going to kind of grab a few. A handful, and that's really good. Gordon had another, like, Gordon keeps having these nights where it's like, this is like a very Aaron Gordon line these days.
100%.
12 points on 5 of 9, 6 boards, 5 assists. Like, when you're able to put up double-digit scoring and 5 rebounds and 5 assists, that sounds like not a lot, but it's really valuable given the low usage that he does. Like, you put the ball in his hands and good things are happening. And I think that's really important, and it was evident in this one as well. Christian Brown continues his great start to the season with 17 points on 6 of 11 shooting. He made 3 threes. All of them were above the break. Yeah. And just continued to have a really good season. And then Russ fills in the starters. 5 points, 2 of 11. This is the most Westbrook-ass line you're going to ever see. 5 points, 2 of 11, 1 of 4 from 3, missed all 4 of his free throws, had only 3 boards, but 7 assists. How about 5 steals, but 4 turnovers and 4 fouls? Good God, what a Westbrook line. Just a late career Westbrook line.
What I will say, just kind of dividing between the minutes when he was on the floor with Jokic and the minutes when he was off the floor when Jokic was not on the floor. Obviously, those are going to be distinctly different, and we're going to have to talk about that a little bit more, just because it doesn't look like Jamal Murray is going to be back super soon. Just from the tone that we got from Michael Malone initially post game. So it looks like Russell Westbrook is going to be starting for at least the next couple games, I would say. And Denver's going to have to survive. They can, because they have Joker, who can do every job ever now. But it seems that they need somebody else who can sort of set the table, and Russ is going to be next up on that total.
On the other side, we'll talk about Julian Strawther having himself a really good night. The bench and what we kind of saw with no Dario Saric tonight. Some expanded thoughts on the bench as the Nuggets try and keep trying to figure out how to solve this problem, and a whole lot more. We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. It's the best place to get more money, get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast and secure and safe. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. How about this? On Sunday, Luka is playing the Magic, and I looked this up tonight, and the really interesting thing, the number for his points is 28.5, what's really interesting is when Luka plays elite defenses, he tends to score way more because the best option is to put the ball in Luka's hands, and they deny the passes. Everything's tougher against those defenses. And if he's faced by a tough defender, it's actually like you don't have as much space, so you can't pass. He scores more versus great defenses.
Interesting.
Even though the Mavericks tend to score less.
Yeah.
So I think Luka over 28.5 tomorrow is a really good number, is for him to score more than 28.5 points. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. We're also brought to you today by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to bet live bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. The Baltimore Ravens are the best team against the spread in the first half in the NFL, and they have been absolutely dominant in that regard. I would say that a really good line is probably Baltimore -6 first half and Denver Broncos +9 full game. I think that's actually a really good one because I think that Bo Nix gets better as the game goes on, and I do think the Broncos cover this game. I have the Broncos. I like them to cover. I don't know if they're going to win, but I like them to cover this game because I will say this, the Ravens secondary gives up explosive plays like crazy, and the Broncos don't have any explosive playmakers.
No, they don't.
Nor can they really throw explosive throws.
No, they can't.
But
Ooh.
Late in the game, I think that the back door will be open. So I like the Broncos there. If you want to get spicy, you can do Ravens first half, Broncos full game on the spread. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Sunday. We will be back. We will be back with you on Sunday night. So Ryan and I will be with you literally in 18 hours for another edition of No Jinx. But we're with you here. We want to do a post-game show after this game, especially. It's good for the Nuggets to finally get a home win. So that to me is actually a big thing here. I want to get to a comment I saw, and it's going to take me a second to find it. Here we go. Teledan Hogan says, I can't understand how Malone thinks sitting Zeke on the bench is helping him or the team. Somebody should ask. I want to address this real quick.
Okay, let's go.
So Zeke doesn't play with the normal rotation. DJ takes the minutes in the second half.
Yep.
And Malone was very, very strong to defend Dario post game and be like, that doesn't mean he's out of the rotation. It meant that in this game, I wanted to try this. And
also, by the way, said some positive things about Zeke in that post game.
Yeah. And I think that this is kind of the key is this was a game for Malone to kind of try stuff, which would lead you to believe that Zeke, okay, if you're going to try stuff, why aren't you trying stuff with Zeke?
Yeah.
I think part of that is matchups because Walker Kessler and Filipowski are bigger dudes. And I do think that a large part of this, though, is I will tell you this. I do not think that this is there have been times throughout the times I've covered the Nuggets when Michael Malone has had issues with a player's approach, and the decisions for him to play or not play were based off of Michael Malone's decision. MPJ early in his career, right? Yeah. When everybody was like, how can you not play this guy? Did you see him? He made all these threes. And it's yeah, but he blew 15 defensive, but he made the threes. Play the shooty hoops, man.
Yeah.
and he really worked on it. And then the outcome was pretty positive for Denver because they won a championship because of it.
Yep.
I don't think the Zeke Najee thing is that. I think that Zeke's approach at times has frustrated the organization as a whole, and that includes front office, coaching staff, and players. And I don't think that's not like, I don't think that Zeke's lazy. I think Zeke works hard. I think that Zeke's approach has not vibed with what the team wants. And that is not a Malone thing. That is a collective team thing. So yeah. I'll let you go in just 1 second. My only point here is that like when there is a problem between coach and player, and that's why he's not playing and he's in the doghouse, I swear to God, I will tell you, I've done it before. There are guys that will not get a chance because of how Malone feels.
Pickett.
Yeah. Like Jalen Pickett's not playing because Michael Malone doesn't believe in him. And that coaching staff has not done enough to build him up. I don't think that's the case with Zeke.
Also, there's this. I just had the comment here from Snowwolf. Crowd cheered super loud when DJ came in tonight. It was super fun at Ball Arena. It was. And like DJ wasn't super successful for the entire time. But the final dunk that he had where he fought through a bunch of offensive rebounds and then he wasn't getting to full picture, and then he ultimately got that dunk. There are some things that DJ still brings. He had nine rebounds tonight. He had some dunks. He just brings a good energy to the team overall. Russ likes to play with him. The reason why Russ is here in part is because of DeAndre Jordan too. So I think that there is some merit to playing DJ over Zeke at times. The problem, and when you look at it from like a long-term financial perspective for the team, obviously the guy who's 23, who has 4 years left on his deal and is clearly not very good right now and trying to get better, like you want to try to play that guy and get him. And in these situations, it's one of the reasons why I thought Trey Alexander would play regular rotation minutes tonight, but Michael Malone decided to go with 9. Hunter Tyson played. And like, I get it. I do get it. And Denver needs wins, man. Like that's another part of this. You can't just use these games as throwaway developmental games when the team was already 2-3. They needed wins. And you're playing the Utah Jazz. You're muted.
If they had screwed around and blown that league and Joker would have had to go back in, it would have been a bad scene. Like they need it. Like, and this I think is part of the challenge, right? Is you're asking a lot to be like, you need to win and you need to develop. You're asking even more when it's, you need to win and you need to develop guys to go from bad to good.
Yeah.
Like that, I think might be like the big lesson from this entire thing that's gone on with the Nuggets since the title is you can develop if you have like a top 10 pick. You can develop, and they did that with Porter. They were trying to win, and Porter was developing, and they pulled it off.
Yeah.
What you can't do is you can't be like, yeah, we're gonna burn these minutes with players that are overall negative to try and get them positive while we're also trying to win a game. Because the result of that is that I do think that the starters are getting to a point. Not starters. Let's be clear. I think Joker's getting to a point where he's really tired of having
to clean up. He's pissed off, man. Like,
yeah, he's tired of having to clean up the bench's mess. And I think that's been I think he was really cool with it for a long time. And I think that his patience has run out on that.
There is definite signs of that. You can see how frustrated he is at times. He took out that frustration on the Utah Jazz tonight. There was no doubt about it. He was great and deservedly so. Fought through some, I thought he was going to get a tech at various points early on in this game just because he was not really getting the whistle that he was thinking and thought it was mopey a little bit, but then he turned it on. He absolutely looked way better, especially like mid-second quarter and onward. And so Denver's they've got to come up with some more ways to give him breaks. Zeke Najee's not going to help them give Jokic breaks. That's the long and short of this thing. Is like people can talk about, okay, maybe Zeke is marginally better than Dario at times. Maybe he's marginally better than DeAndre Jordan at times. He's still going to get killed at times. they're still probably going to be really negative with him out there.
Look, my thing is, I'm not even trying to I think Zeke was playing great, not great. I think Zeke made real strides last year. I thought that he really had built up, was playing better, and then the Mavs game happened. And that was a very big turning point in the rotation.
I never felt that way, for what it's worth.
I did. He had real moments. There was some progress going on, and I get it off of preseason. Zeke, I think it's possible. It's not just I think it's possible. Zeke should be better than DJ. DJ is not on this team to play minutes, and Zeke should be better than Dario, because for the first 5 games that Dario Saric played, Saric has looked like the worst basketball player to ever play in the NBA. Do I think that's how he will be for the rest of time? No, I do not. But that doesn't mean that Zeke doesn't deserve at least a turn here. My point is always that these things are more complicated than we think. And that's the real takeaway here. What is not complicated is that I really love where Julian Strawther's game is headed. It's really funny that after years of me always being the guy where it's you can't play the young guys. You see how bad he is on defense. Now, for whatever reason, Julian's the one guy I give a pass to, because I think the Nuggets have a bunch of defensive guys. They have Peyton Watson, they have Christian Brown. Julian is there to provide scoring and shooting, and he's really showing he's getting comfortable. And I'm really excited about where Julian Strawther's game is going. I genuinely think that the bright spot of the non-starters to me has been Julian Strawther.
Undoubtedly. Strawther tonight, he got into foul trouble early, and it limited the number of shots that he could take. So I think his first quarter, his first half stint, I think he exited with 11 minutes left in the second quarter with 3 fouls. So it masks what I thought was a really impressive game. 19 points, 7 of 11 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 2 steals. You've talked about his off-ball defense improving. I see that stride as well. There's a lot to like about Strawther's game as a bucket getter. There's still some things he's got to learn, as with all of these guys, but he has been the main bridge player that the Nuggets have used when they're staggering Michael Porter Jr. They do not bring in when everybody's healthy, they do not bring in Russell Westbrook. They bring in Julian Strawther, and I think it's the right call because of what he can add to that group as an offensive player and a spacer and a versatile offensive weapon. There's a lot to like, and it's only up from here, man. This I think is a really good sign of. I think Calvin Booth hit on this one. There's a lot to like about what he's doing.
On the other side, we will talk about the Nuggets as a whole now. All right, are they making progress, or did they just play the Jazz? Because that's a real question. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Nuggets. Today's episode of Locked On Nuggets is brought to you by Skims. So, all right, here's the deal. As you get older, one of the things that you're going to come to really appreciate is comfortable underwear. I'm just telling you, it is. You're going to go from I don't really care about this, and then you're going to get them I kind of like this nice underwear I have. And then it's going to become really important to you. This is what happens. And absolutely Skims is the best way for you to get the best possible underwear. How about the cotton boxer brief, right? A lot of dads, if you're like me, haven't updated that drawer in a while. But with Skims, now you got something that's going to feel great. It's going to look great. It's absolutely awesome. The Skims Cotton 3 boxer briefs, and it's everything about classic boxer briefs, but honestly better. You got the Travelers, which are also great. They're awesome for going out. They never ride up and they never lose shape. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. The second I saw Skims was a sponsor, I was like, oh God, the comments. That was the first.
It's just Hurricane.
It's just Hurricane every time. Okay. So real quickly, Saric doesn't play. Do you think he plays next game?
Oh, that's a great question. because I think Malone is going to probably just ride with DJ again. Actually, that's a great question because the Raptors specifically are that team full of 6'8", 6'9" dudes that all switch in space. And it's not like Walker Kessler's out there or Kyle Filipowski's out there, these 7-footers that can't really move that well. It is like a whole bunch of movement guys. So if you're asking me who matches up the best, it's Zeke of those three. But I don't think that he's playing Zeke. So it's either going to be Dario or DJ, and I'd probably go DJ again.
Yeah, I think I'll probably lean towards DJ. You've seen this a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they just give Dario a reset.
Yeah.
Bad start, take a couple of games, get your body right. Then, we'll come back to you. Because, this is a thing where throughout the course of the season with injuries, you're always going to have situations where guys are going to come back in the rotation, and sometimes they stay and sometimes they don't. And so, I've kind of argued, hey, I think Dario could probably use a few more, just more time. And the reason we're kind of making so much of this is that fans are always going to be like, he sucks, get him out of here, go to somebody else. One, there is no one else. And two, if you're the Nuggets and you made this investment in him and the players believe in him so much, that's the biggest thing here. Is if the players were like, yeah, Dario's good, that was it, then I'd be like, oh, okay. But the players rave about Dario.
What Aaron Gordon said at the beginning of the year about I don't know if you guys realize how important Dario is going to be for us. That's a big deal coming from Aaron.
So, and the thing is we'll talk about how much Dario sucked and continues to suck if he plays. But if you're why don't they just not play him? That's why.
Yeah.
Is because the players really believe in him. They
have more belief than the fans do. It's unquestioned.
They don't look at and I'll just tell you, this is a big I was talking to Ryan about this. A lot of it is that the players are not looking at the box score and being like, oh my God, Dario was 0 of 5 and -17. We can't play him at all. They don't they're just whatever. I've played with him. I know basketball. That doesn't vibe with my reality of my perception of reality. And if the players don't feel that way, that matters. It just does. It matters. It matters a lot more than whatever we think on here. And it should. They're the ones playing.
Yeah.
Now there's a point where it just becomes look, this is unavoidable. Right? If we get to Christmas and this is still like this, good God.
Michael Malone even said that they got to a point after 5 games where I need to see something different. Need to see a change. He said that tonight.
And I thought tonight was really good in that Malone did experiment, right? He tried different rotations. He tried different guys. He got a different look at different things.
Yeah.
And that's really good. You always want to be able to start with all right, we got our set rotation and it's fine. But being able to have a game like this where you can roll the Jazz, because they are truly the worst team in the league right now.
Yeah.
Being able to do that and experiment, I think, is really valuable. To that end, I will ask you this: look, they've won 3 of 4. Sorry, they've won 3 of 4. The loss was the Wolves on the road last second. So, are the Nuggets making progress, or is this just circumstance that they played the Raptors overtime, the Nets overtime, Jazz at home?
When you say it like that, it does sort of feel like, yeah, Denver should win these games. But just watching each of them and the general sense that I get from different rotations, from different players that are getting more comfortable, from Jokic taking on as much responsibility as he does, it does feel like they are moving in the right direction. And I talked about that to multiple guys tonight. I asked that to Michael Porter Jr. and I asked it to Julian Strawther, and they both had some very interesting things. Julian, I want to read you this quote that I put in my story today. Quote, "We're definitely finding our identity, and I feel like we're doing a really good job of keeping things inside our walls, inside our own walls. Obviously, there's a lot of outside noise on what's going on in our locker room, but we've done a good job of just continuing to grow." What do you make of that, Matt?
I'll say this. I think that there's a possibility that Ramona Shelburne's article on ESPN.com could be a rallying point for this team.
Yeah. I think so.
Because that was the first time, I'll say this, that we've talked about it. I've done shows on it. Locked on NBA on game night, which you can catch me on there every Monday through Friday in the afternoons. But on game night, there was one of our biggest videos on there in the last couple weeks was one that was like letting Jokic down. And the ESPN article is very much the first time that a national person in a major outlet has done a story about the idea of wasting Jokic's prime. And if you're in that locker room, especially if you're one of the guys that won a title, that's going to piss you off. And it's a rallying point. So I think that could be helpful, even though the sourcing on that article was very evident.
It was quite one-sided, I'll say. But yeah, I just thought that was a very interesting take. I thought that was a very interesting quote from Julian Strawther, somebody who is still very young, but also seems like he would have the ear of the locker room there and has some very interesting opinions on that. I'm very curious to see how Denver moves on from here, because it does feel like this is a break. Like, so you had the first 6 games. Game 1, you sucked. Game 2, you were pretty bad. Game 3 and 4, that was the back-to-back. You go to overtime in both of them. And Julian said he thought that they showed some really good things by winning in overtime and by being able to, like, they saw some good things from their team in that circumstance. They lose to the Wolves, but I thought that was the best that the team has played up until that point. The Wolves are just a very good team, and they made a lot of shots. And then tonight, Denver blows out the Jazz. It was the Jazz, but they won a big game. So I'm very curious to see how they go from here, because it feels like that is a nice little stair step. And I'm wondering what happens when the stairs kind of go back down and how they respond to that.
I mean, I think for me, it's the shooting is normalized. The defense is actually where I have a lot more concerns. Malone talked a lot pregame about their issues at the rim, and the Jazz didn't have the guys to kind of to challenge them there.
No, they did not.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a throwaway from that regard. But look, they lost the first 2 games, quite honestly, because they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah. And
now they're shooting again. They're able to score again. You know, and like we were talking pregame about the fact that Malone's always like, I don't worry about the offense. And I'm concerned about that. That limits your ceiling if you're not innovating. However, he's got a point here, because once they stop shooting like garbage, they're still a really good offensive team. And the other thing here is, look, this is the type of game actually I think that's more important. Like, this game objectively is like way more important than the Clippers game. Here's why. Okay, Clippers was a home game, so that was bad. But this was home game, bad team, division opponent. 3 checks there. All great. If the Nuggets are going to win 50-plus games, it's games like Utah that's going to get them there. It's not going to be the Wolves game on the road versus an elite squad.
100%.
Now, they need to get better at those, because they were really bad at them last year, and it was a warning sign. It was like that was a very big warning sign to me in their win record. Was like, they're not great versus the top of the West. But again, my thing is, you're not trying to be like some juggernaut this year. That's not where you're at. You're trying to be that sneaky team that slides in there in the 4 seed, and all of a sudden it's like, are the Nuggets going back to the conference finals?
Yeah.
Like, that's where you want
I got news for people. Like, nobody wants to see Jokic again in the playoffs. Like, the way that he's playing right now, it doesn't matter what Murray's doing or what Porter's doing or what Gordon's doing or anybody, frankly, or what the bench looks like. Nobody wants to see Nikola Jokic in the playoffs. Everybody is scared crapless of that dude. They have no idea what to do with him. Nobody has any idea. And the only answer that you got was from the defensive player of the year playing help side defense, while one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA and Jaden McDaniels and an elite athlete in Anthony Edwards were able to take away the other top 2 scoring options. Like, it is very distinct, like how Minnesota was able to beat them. And other teams can do that. OKC can certainly do that. Dallas can probably do that. But a lot of these teams are still scared. They do not want to face the Nuggets if they can help it.
It's really weird. The Nuggets won comfortably and blew out their opponent, and the comment section is very mad. Just so mad. I guess here's the thing I would just tell you. If you're going to be mad every single time that the bench is a negative, you're going to be mad every single game this year. Bench is bad. They have a great starting unit. I looked this up. The starting unit is better than it was the past 2 seasons so far.
They've been great. Christian Brown has really stepped up and in different ways, but he has been really good.
Yep.
Update on Jamal. Michael Malone said basically that the general timeline for these things are about 5 to 7 days, in which, like, from the time of the injury to when the player comes back, where they are able to clear concussion protocol. We haven't actually been told that Jamal has a concussion. He's just in concussion protocol, but I assume that he is obviously didn't clear it yet. He did some cardio tonight, which is you're supposed to wait 24 hours before you actually do any on-court work or anything like that. So I think you're probably looking at the next 2 days, next 2 games without Jamal Murray, and then hopefully he comes back at some point during this homestand.
I bet he's back by. He might play. I bet he plays Monday. He did cardio tonight.
Yeah.
I bet he's back Monday.
If he is, that would be great for Denver.
We got more to talk about. We'll talk about it tomorrow night on No Jinx. You can catch us tomorrow at 10:30 on youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Follow Ryan over at NBA Blackburn and catch his work at Mile High Sports. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. Have yourselves a great Sunday, and we'll see you in about 18 hours for No Jinx. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.